What's up guys, it is Derrick here from DaseDesigns.com with a brand new video. In today's video I'm going to be bringing you guys the start of a brand new series, and it's going to be touching on the basics of sketching, just some materials I use, and start building those skills that you guys have been asking me for. So let's get started. Alright guys, so we're going to begin with my basic tools for just sketching and drawing in general, and this is in real life, so to speak, so on actual paper. And right now I'm currently using a Bio Z canvas for all of my sketching, but just for starters, I'm gonna have you guys, a great place to start is just with pens and paper and things like that. So, some of the basic supplies that I use are, as you can see right here, would be a ballpoint pen. I just like these just because the lines are bold, and it's just so smooth and silky to write with. It doesn't really stick to the paper or anything like that. And yeah, so it flows very well. And another thing that I've been using forever has to be like Sharpie markers. This is one of the thicker ones that I have, and the ones that I usually use are a lot skinnier, not the really thin ones like a pencil, so to speak, but the point is more so rounded. And this one's really great just because it has the wide side and it also has the skinny point, so you have two size variations for that. And then my favorite thing to use, aside from the pens, ballpoint pens, has to be mechanical pencils or just lead pencils in general. And this one is about a 0.7 if I'm not mistaken in regards of the size of the lead. And I love this shape, this style of lead pencil. They have other ones that are like metal and more heavier, but metal pencils really, or metal objects kind of make my hands sweat. It's really weird. I have no clue why. Laugh if you want, but anyway, so that's why I use these guys right here. Mechanical pencils have to be my go-to, and you can tell this one's really burnt out. As you can see, the eraser is gone on this thing. I really grinded this thing out. But anyways, so those are some of my favorite tools to draw with. Other than that, all you really need is like a standard notebook. This one's like a 5-star notebook. And another thing that I really recommend is getting like an actual sketchbook, something maybe smaller, about the size of your hand, maybe a little bit bigger. I'm not really sure the exact size on this one. And this is my favorite kind of book, or this, what you guys are seeing, so to speak. I like black books. That's kind of like the name that they're called. This isn't an actual black book. This is an actual, book where you read. But this is the only thing that I had in regards of the same, similar size and like style and the way it looks. I just love these to carry around in public and to draw and sketch in. And they just look dope and they're just awesome. You can get them online. I'll be sure to put links for all of these, and for Amazon links and just internet links in general. So anyways, those are some of the basic tools that I would recommend you guys checking out and just using in general. So, first off, we're going to start with how to hold your pencil, and then also some, sketching and movement techniques for your hands, your wrists, and your fingers. So I usually hold it like this. I have my index finger, my thumb, my middle finger. Those are my main fingers, the strongest ones. Then I have my ring finger, my pinky, to support my thumb, and you kind of just put those all together, and that's kind of where you begin to draw. And I usually put them like around this size, so maybe 1.5 centimeters to 2 centimeters away from the edge of the pencil. And this is really to just draw more detailed things, like really draw smaller. As you guys can see, I'm drawing really small at this point in time. So yeah, and that's pretty much that. So just holding your pencil towards the edge. I do change my the way my hand is holding it. Our fingers is not always the same, so it does switch up. But anyways, after that, there's another technique where you, instead of moving your fingers, you more so rely on your wrist. And this is really great for, drawing bigger things and, kind of smooth lines and kind of this circular motion. So if I was to continue to go around and use that same strategy, so to speak, I'll probably end up with a fairly decent circle. Hopefully it's got to switch it up. So yeah, obviously these didn't meet, but they're pretty good. It's not too bad, but this is just an overall great technique. Hopefully you guys can see that, just to draw larger and just draw better, a little bit better. And it's just a great start. So definitely practice these. And then another one would be to draw I want to say perfectly straight lines. So these are all fairly straight, as you can see. And the technique behind that is really, instead of just moving your hand like this, like if you move your wrist, it'll do that rotation. But if you move your whole arm all the way across, your lines are pretty straight, as you can see. I'll try to get another one here. So yeah, just moving your whole wrist and using your whole arm, so to speak, instead, to just draw straight lines. And another thing is, I see a lot of people have like squiggly lines, kind of like this. The lines aren't really straight, they don't have much flow, and it's usually because they're going slow. So for straight lines, just go fast. The faster, I want to say the faster you go, as you can see, the straighter the line is and the more flow it has overall. So that's just another technique. And just like the basics, just to continue more on drawing in general, whenever you're starting off creating that original shape, it's always best to begin drawing very lightly. So like I was drawing the circle before, you could start off with that wrist motion, drawing very lightly. Feel free to move around your notebook if you need to, and just drawing lightly just to get the overall mass and overall shape of the object. It's a okay circle right here. So and then when you're happy with it, if you wanted to do more with it, say you wanted to create a wheel, you could do another one going on the inside. And again, just having fun and being very loose with your original marks. And just because you don't have to necessarily commit to anything. Like I didn't really commit to anything right here, and now that I'm kind of happy with everything overall, I would commit to like this overall weight in the middle. And here's where you could go back and further refine those lines and kind of like pick a line. Obviously I would erase a lot of these sketched marks because they don't look right. Just to clean it up, I would erase them, but I don't have an eraser. As I said, I grinded this thing out. So yeah, starting off very lightly and then going in darker on that second time, just to if you're happy with the overall mass and you want to really commit to it. So that's really another great thing to keep in mind. After that, one thing I'd really suggest is breaking things down that you see in life for their most simple form. So like this pin, for example, you could try to go in and just literally dive in, which is okay if you're like used to it, but just to get, it's always best to break things down. So if you broke this pin, it's pretty much a cylinder shape overall. We have our two circles on the end, and that kind of combines in together, and then we can go more into detail. But a few things that you guys can practice is just practice looking for these shapes within real life. So it doesn't matter if you're on the bus going to school, if you're taking a cab ride to college or something like that, or even if you're just in your room and like you went in your closet or something and you looked at a piece of apparel or something, just trying to break them down into simple shapes. So we have some of the simple shapes here. We have a rectangle, circle, triangle, square, obviously like an oval. Those are our 2D shapes. And then our 3D shapes would be like if you combine these two, there would be a cone for a kind of like a triangle, the 3D object, and it breaks down into it opens up into a circle, and then you would have like a cube. This is like a 3D square. See if I can get this pretty decent. I don't want it to look like a stick of butter, but rather a cube. So yeah, we have kind of like a decent cube right here, and then there's always like rectangular prisms and then cylinders as well. Like this is a rectangular prism that I'm supposed to be drawing right here, if I'm not mistaken. But anyways, so like there's certain lines that should match up. Like these two lines should match these two, and then this one, and then this one right here. Even this line should match. And then it's like really playing connect the dots when you're creating these. So just drawing these, be sure to Google them, look up some images for like the basic shapes. So type in like 2D and 3D objects, and just to get a good look at them, and try to break things in life down into them. Like here's a cylinder. There's cylinders everywhere. We have tons on our body, depending who we are, but there's like we have 5 on our hands. Each finger is a cylinder, so to speak. And you have those, and then it's kind of like a rectangular prism in the middle, somewhat, that has like an angle. So you could break that down. And again, back to the pin, like this one is a bunch of cylinders and pretty much a cone on the end. So if I was to just try to draw this and break it down even more into other simple forms and shapes and 3D objects, this one's like a cone right here. And again, you can start off light and then get darker as you are willing to commit to the line that you created and the overall shape. And then this one kind of starts off a little skinny and then gets a bit bigger. And obviously erase the lines that don't make sense and don't fit and don't match, and just really just try to refine it down, and there was like another cylinder over here, and then there's a kind of like a cylinder, a cone, and a sphere on the edge, all combined together. So it's usually the more abstract the object, the more of these 3D objects and shapes right here are going to be mixed in. So there's more than these, obviously. There's a pyramid, there's triangular prisms. This is a terrible pyramid. And triangular prisms like this, just keeping it really quick, and other stuff like that. So again, be sure to Google these things and just really try to break things down and try to see life differently. Those are some of the main tips that I'll recommend for you guys. Just really breaking it down. Like I have a mouse that I use. This is a little bit more abstract, so there's a combination of far more things in here. So you could say there's like a sphere in here, the shape, or just like an oval and a sphere together. And then there's kind of like I want to say a triangular prism, just because the edge is right here, rectangular prism. So just focusing on the overall mass of the object. So we could start off with an oval, just like this, keeping it very rough, very light, and the bottom has its flat edge. So we're going to draw it from the side, and then this side has kind of like a point going off that way, and then a smaller one about half that size over here. And here's where you continue to refine those shapes. It's kind of like an egg shape, and then it kind of goes in, tapers in like this. It's probably supposed to be a bit longer, and a bit shorter. And then again, there's like a skinny cylinder right here. This is kind of like the I'm not really sure what this part is called, but you kind of scroll up and down the screen with it, and it's like a cylinder. Also do, well, never mind, but you can't really see the perspective right here. But that's another thing I'm going to be touching on in further videos, like perspective and also shading, just to add some more value. You guys can already start adding value now. So like this pin, just to quickly go over this, like the pin, the lighting is coming from over here, so it's kind of like this. If I was to draw our arrow, and then our lamp is over here somewhere, so, and it's more so on the top of it, so it's kind of hard to explain just because of the camera. But anyways, so the darkest edge for this pin right here is on the outside edges. So obviously here's where most of our weight, here's where most of our value would be. And then as we get closer to the center right here, here's where it would light up, so, or be lighter, so it begin to fade out. So it's really just starting off, pressing down as hard as you need to get a similar shading and value, and then just lightening up and letting off with your hand. And again, all this, guys, it takes practice. It takes practice. No need to judge yourself. I've always been judgmental on myself, so be sure to go light on yourself. Just have fun, and just practice a lot. Just draw everything. Like draw your mother, draw your TV, draw a toilet if you want. Draw a light bulb. Anything you guys want to draw that interests you. If it looks dope, try to draw it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how I got into drawing. I see cool stuff, and I just try to recreate it in my own way. And also try to make it look as close to the real object as I can, whether you're looking on Google or whether you're in real life in general, what I'm saying. So just trying to just practice and just have fun, and just try to implement some of these basic things, breaking things down, starting off light, and the different strokes for your hand, using your wrist and your fingers and your whole arm, using all three of those instead of just one. And hopefully this should really help you guys out. So yeah, we're gonna be learning together on this one. I'm kind of like diving back into the basics. I've been out of school for so long, and even when I was in school, I didn't really focus on these things, but they're extremely helpful. And again, expect another video coming next week on this. So the next step will probably be shading, getting more so into value and just other things of that nature. So if you guys did enjoy this video, if it was helpful for you, be sure to leave a like, a comment, and or subscribe, and I'll be sure to see you guys in the next one. So again, guys, it is Derrick from DaseDesigns.com, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Take care.